Hello, my name is Paul Gronow. I'm a driving instructor living in Vale and serving beginner and experienced drivers in the Vale of Glamorgan. The video will help you understand how I teach people. Over the years, I've been buying books off the shelf, and all the books I have found are particularly instructor-led books. There will be a few topic headings, pictures where we would go through the program with the learners, where the instructor would take, if you like, management of the learning. Driving instruction is actually different. It's not instructor-led, it's client-centered led, so my learners should be leading the way. So what I've done is I've taken the time out to create a book that has all of the topics that I believe will help my learners to learn to drive safely and to tackle a driving test, and all going well, of course, to pass first time. So what I'd like to do is just go through some of the topics here very briefly so you get an idea of how the book can help. The idea of the book is that the learner have a free copy, they prepare for each lesson, they use the book in the lesson with exercises, and they take the book home to plan the next lesson. I have found firstly that people have been teaching themselves a lot more and understanding how to drive. Then they come into car and practice working that knowledge with me. It's saving them time, it's saving them a lot of money, and it's helping most people to pass first time. Okay, so let's have a look at some of the topics here. Okay, so let's start with how I teach. There are 3 stages to learning to drive. The first one is we find out what the topic is and what you, the learner, know, and then I will guide you through the steps. Secondly, once you get a bit more comfortable, we look at stage 2, which is prompt, where I will prompt you through somewhat known topics where we share responsibility. Once you're getting comfortable with that, we look at stage 3, which is commentary, where you get the chance to talk me through the steps and what you're doing. So that's our model: guided, prompt and commentary. Okay, so here we can see the 40 topics that I have taught people. Within these topics there's a fair bit of detail, as you will see, and it covers what you need really to become a safe driver. When you get in the car, there are 9 basic checks that you check, and you can see here, moving off from the left hand side, I use the terms feet, eyes and hands, and we go through the step by step. So you learn this at home, you learn it in the car, and you practice it, and before not too long it'll become comfortable and natural for you. Parking on the left hand side, you're introduced to MS-PSL, which the examiners use as a template: mirrors, signal, position, speed and look. And we'll go through those. We use the MS-PSL for everything you're doing. We also cover topics like stalling, stopped or moving. You need to learn how to deal with that. Road markings are very important, so we go through sections of road markings, what side of road to be on when you're emerging or turning. We look at junctions, whether they are open or closed junctions, very important, and what to do in either situation. We talk about hatch areas where you might have a solid line where it's seen as like a brick wall, can't drive over those. So looking at emerging, you can see here that not only do you have the steps, the MS-PSL, you also have a diagram which I would encourage you to fill in your own time. Come back to the car and show me how you would summarize. It all helps us get into practice all the knowledge. Close clutch control is used a lot for driving. That's basically when you're slowing down and you're not going to stop with the handbrake, but you're waiting for a car or two to go, maybe on a hill, and we'll practice how to become really comfortable with that, and that'll really give you the confidence to be able to drive around. Approaching left bends is a certain way to position your car on left and right bend. Move on to Y junctions and protected right turns and what they are and how to best negotiate them. Okay, we look at zebra crossings, whether they have or not an island and how to deal with that. We look at an emergency stop, what you should and shouldn't do for safety there, and practice that. When you're driving, we think about how close you can be to a vehicle in different situations: dry roads, wet roads, icy roads. When you're stopping the car, what you should be doing, where you should be looking, how close you can get to a car, and be safe. And when you're driving past a car, keeping a meter away from those vehicles if their door opens. Hills are very important, of course, to learn. So we have areas in Barry that we will practice, and they'll get sort of plenty of experience on being safe on hills. We're thinking about how to do an uphill start or a downhill start. We're thinking about traffic lights and how to negotiate different types of lights, when and when not to position, go, signal, and so on. We move on to crossroads, what they are, how to negotiate. We look at an exercise on crossroads, thinking about the priority of vehicles. Once you've learned all these, you'll have regular chances to apply them all and to practice asking questions. You're moving on to the middle section of your learning when you start to look at hazard routines. So we look at what a hazard or potential hazard is and how to deal with that. And then we move on to meeting traffic and thinking about anticipating the actions of other road users. So there's exercises for meeting traffic. Part of traffic management is to work on traffic calming measures, and that helps people to stay safe on the road. We also look at the section called eco driving, where there's a number of factors that you need to consider: saving fuel, saving emissions, and using cruise control, and so on. We move on then to the tougher topic for most, the roundabouts. You will find a number of roundabouts that are local to the Barry Test Centre area and that are unique, and we look at where you would position and think of the correct procedures to negotiate roundabouts. One of the things on roundabouts that seems to be tricky for a number of people is what we call blockers, and we look at when it's safe to move. Then move on to busy junctions and look at practicing all your skills that you've learned so far. We take in stop signs and bus lanes. We then move on to one-way systems, and again, particularly for Barry, you'll see there's a map there that helps us to negotiate those tricky one-way systems. The practical driving test also often takes in rural roads. So there's three areas that you might find a driving test in and around Barry. One is Dinas Powys, another Sully, and another Wembo. So you get a chance to drive through those roads. Then we move on to the faster roads, learning the speed limit in particular of different roads and where the different 20s, the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, the 60 roads are, and even 10 mile an hour road. So you'll be learning to overtake on a faster road. So at this stage, you are heading towards becoming so much safer on the road. You learn independent driving using a sat-nav, following directions. And then we move on to the advanced techniques. With regard to the modern day driving test, you're looking at 3 different types of maneuvers, where the examiner will ask you to perform just one of the 3 types. So you've got forward bay park, you've got reverse bay park. You can see the diagrams will help you practice. It takes a couple of lessons really to get hold of it, but if you study at home, it'll help. So the second one is a parallel park, where you park on the street and reverse into a space. And finally, the park on the right hand side, reverse 2 car lengths and then move off. It's deemed the most dangerous because you are, of course, driving against traffic. So we learn how to negotiate the park right as safely as we can. Finally, you have an opportunity as a learner driver to go on the motorway with a driving instructor. So many of my learners do get the chance before they pass the test to go on the motorway, or certainly once they've finished. Okay, thank you for taking the time to view this video. If you have any questions, comments, please get in touch with me via the contact details on the website.